Hey guys! I was not planning on getting on, so I didn't get particularly ready today. So I apologize. Um, I was just thinking about a couple of things, and I thought, you know what? I get asked the same question a lot. And that question is, what should I do if I want to be a writer? How do I do it? What do I go about doing? What's your number one piece of advice for someone who wants to be an author? And that's a tricky question because everyone's different. Everyone has their own kind of set of problems that they have to deal with. And so the advice is, it needs to be individually tailored to a point. However, there are certain things that are universal. And I'd say the first thing that I would advise for anyone who wants to do anything, whether it's writing or speaking or any type of goal that you have, is finish what you started. And it sounds really simple, right? Just finish what you started, but it's not. The reason that people don't finish things is because it's really, really hard, right? Because if it was easy, we would totally all do it. We'd be like, piece of cake, no problem, totally finish it. How many people have problems finishing cake? Like, not very many people. Hey, Shelly, we have Becca, Alyssa, welcome, guys. But seriously, we don't have a problem finishing cake or movies or, anything that's not difficult to do. So no matter what your goal is, whether it's being a writer or some type of creative artistic person or starting a business or a conference or whatever it is, you got to finish what you start. Now, for writing, that's the one that I live in. And it's hard to do because you start working on this thing, and as a general rule for writers, you start and you're like, oh my gosh, this is brilliant. Right? This is so genius, because that's why you started writing it, because it's like the coolest idea ever. And then you start going and you're like, this is not as good as I thought it was. And you start looking over stuff and you're like, oh, why did I decide that I could do this? And then you start looking at how far you have to go and you're like, I'm never gonna finish this. I don't know where I'm going. I don't know what I'm doing. I'm kind of stuck in that weird mid zone where you've got your beginning and then you're just stuck. What do? You got to keep plugging. And this is what I do school visits a lot. And I tell the kids all the time, I'm like, a lot of people quit doing something because they look at the experts. They look at the professionals. So I'm just going to keep using writing as an example, and just know that this is applicable to pretty much anything you do. But you pick up a book that's just genius, and you're like, I will never be that good. What am I doing? Look at this thing that I've created, and look at this other thing that this other person created, and it's genius, and it's brilliant, and it's amazing, and I will never be that amazing. But here's the thing. All first drafts suck. Okay? They just do. Unless you're the writer that takes, a ton of time on that first drafts are not any good. And you just have to understand that. You have to understand that you're just going to keep pushing, and it might be total garbage. And that's okay. It's okay that it's total garbage. Because guess what happens when you have total garbage? Now you have something to make something out of. Right? Because now you have the pieces, you have the components, and you can create something. How many artists are literally garbage artists? They take garbage and they make art. And that's what we as writers do. We take garbage and then we twist it and we turn it and we tweak it and we fix it and we keep messing with it until that pile of nothing has turned into a pile of something beautiful. But we can't do that unless we have the pile. So you have to finish what you've started. And a lot of authors, there are a lot of wannabe authors. And I don't mean that by whether they're good or bad or genius or not genius. I mean that by the fact that they never finish. They have manuscript after manuscript after manuscript, and none of them are done. Okay, that's someone who's scared of actually finishing. That's what that is. And you can never be a true of anything until you finish it. Okay, these little Halloween emoticons are hilarious. Those are so cute. But yeah, that's my number one piece of advice for people who want to be a writer is finish what you started. End of story. And the fact of the matter is that the editing process is what makes an author. That's what it is. Like, that's where you really learn your craft. You learn how to do things. You learn how to manipulate things. You learn how to construct sentences. You learn how to do plots. You learn all of those things by looking at something that is not right, which is your rough draft, and going, oh, okay, like I see how that would work, or I see why that is not working right now. That's what you do. My second piece of advice, and I actually had someone ask me today about this. So my second piece of advice for people who want to be a writer is to get an editor. And a lot of people are under this bizarre misconception that they don't need an editor. And I'm telling you, everyone needs an editor. Like, I don't care who you are or how many books you've published, your publishing house continues to hire editors for you because you need them. Okay? Faith said, it's tougher than it seems though, especially putting it together. Oh my gosh, Faith, it's totally tougher than it seems. Like, that's why everyone says, hey, I'm gonna write a book. Because they have no idea what they're getting themselves into. Because it's a craft. And there are rules that need to be followed, and there are things that have to be done. But literally the best way to figure that out is to finish it and then, like I said, hire someone to help you. If you can't afford to hire someone to help you at this point in time, start reading books. Like, read and read and read and read and read. And as you do that, don't read for enjoyment and then go back and read it for learning. And be like, oh my gosh, that scene was amazing. How did she make me feel that? Like, what did she do? Learn about plot and structure and then go back through the book and pick it out and be like, oh, okay, that's what they're doing there. That's what they're doing there. And learn how it's supposed to go. And it is hard. Like, I published my 6th novel and I am still sorting out tiny pieces. Like, I'm learning a little bit more and a little bit more with every book. Like, an editor will be like, hey, if you do this instead of this, it's going to work a little bit better. And sometimes I get kind of pissy about it and I'm like, oh my gosh, you're just being silly. But I am always worried that I'm going to ignore a piece of advice that I should have listened to. So I go in and I put track changes on so I can easily get it back to what it was. Seriously, you think I would learn by now. And I'll make the changes that they've suggested. And seriously, this is me. I'll type it all in and I read it over and I'm like, it's totally better. And it's good. I'm so thrilled that it's better. But I'm like, they're always right. That's so annoying. But they are. They know what they're doing. They're editors for a reason. So, number one piece of advice for writers is finish what you started. I don't care if you think it's a pile of garbage. You can't make anything until you have something to work with, garbage or not. Okay? And every book that you complete, the next book will be better. And you can't just complete it. You have to go through it after that, and you have to edit it, because that is what makes it. Reading is huge, okay? I've heard a couple people say, oh, I don't really like reading, but they want to be a writer. Are you kidding me? You have to read. You have to learn your craft and figure out what you're doing, and the only way that you're going to do that is by reading. I actually learn a lot from Netflix. It's true. Binge watching is actually super beneficial for me as a writer, because when I binge watch a show, guess what I can see? I can see the plot arc. I can see the build-up. I can see all the setup, because it's just episode after episode after episode, and I'm like, oh, and I don't forget because it wasn't last week, right? So I love that, and I love TV too, because a lot of times they'll do a scene that's super emotional, just heart-wrenching, and you're like, oh my gosh, and it's, how did they make me feel that way? What did they do? Was it the dialogue? Was it the movement? Was it how they slowed that scene down to, those tiny little microbeats? All of those things are things that I'm then how can I incorporate that into my writing? What can I do to put that into a book? Alyssa, really sorry. I don't know when that came in. Really what? You're going to have to clarify for me and then I'll answer you. I said a lot of crap in the last 5 minutes. I don't know. Let's see. Crystal says, when I took college English comp, we had to write what we learned, and one thing I put was if I ever became a writer, I would hire an editor because I suck at editing. I can write, but making it perfect, not so good. Crystal, that's so totally normal. Like, writing and editing are two different skill sets, and there are some people who can do both, and those people boggle my mind, and I don't understand them. But a lot of people are excellent at being a creative person and not so much a technical. I've written enough and gone through enough edits that at this point in my life, I could creative edit, I think maybe, for someone else. The problem is I'm not very nice about it, and so I probably shouldn't take on any clients. But the editing is really like, that's why you hire people, and that's okay. That doesn't make you less of a writer. And as a matter of fact, you really have to have a second set of eyes, because you know what you meant, right? You write it, you know what you meant, but it takes someone else to be like, that does not make sense, for you to be like, really? And figure out what to fix. Let's see. Faith says that's actually a really good idea because world building dialogue is so huge in TV shows and in movies too. Owen Carrick. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And it's so, like, it's inspirational too. Like, when you watch these shows and yeah, the world is just insane. And you're like, that's beautiful. You can totally use that as inspiration in a book. Like, should you write it brick for brick? Probably not. But yeah, totally amazing how they build worlds and build entire, political and caste systems. And that really, it teaches you. Like, TV is valuable for writers. Ha, tell that to your mom. Alyssa says, I meant you binge watching is actually, yes, binge watching is honest to goodness beneficial for me. Cause I'm telling you, binge watch a show, you can see the plot arcs like that. It's like watching a movie. You can see all the setup. It's beautiful. But no, it really is good. And the one thing that I got from TV that I incorporate into my writing a lot, and people really love, they're like, how did you do that? And I call them, and I'm trademarking this right now because someone's going to steal this. I call them microbeats, because you have beats of the story, right? Like, it moves at a pace, it moves at a certain beat. That's what makes something easy to read. But when you watch a movie and they want something to be like really impactful, what do? They slow it down, right? Like, if you have a battle scene, you don't just watch a bunch of men like going crazy. They slow it down. You see the clang of, like, see and hear the swords clanging. You like get a close up of mud like splashing up from the ground as someone like puts a boot in it. You get all of these things, and it's the same thing with love scenes. It's not like, oh, hey, we're kissing. No, like, they've slowed it down to like the hand against the cheek and the blink of the eye, and it's micro beat. And as they slow that way down, it raises the tension. So you're like, oh, and it's the same thing in a book. Micro beat it out. If you want a scene to be better and it's a high tension, like important scene, micro beats. They are the best thing in the world, and they are not hard to do, especially if you watch a lot of TV and video, because you've seen it done so many times that you're like, oh, okay, I get it. So I actually use that technique a lot. I have my editors like, you write the best romance scenes. Oh my gosh, how do you do it? It's microbeats. That's all it is. And I think I get some good dialogue in there once in a while. Okay, so I've been talking for a really long time. If anyone has any other questions, like, flip them up really quick before I sign off, and I'll try to get to them. Crystal says, yeah, same teacher said when you write, realize that most readers are stupid and don't always know that the next line goes with the line before, so make sure they get where you're heading. So I'm going to take that, I'm going to twist it just a little bit, because there are people who assume their readers are really stupid, and that's bad, because then they over-explain, like, we get it, we're smart. But you do have to connect those lines, for sure. My most important thing that I ever learned was, it really doesn't matter what you think. Like, I get my creative license, and there are times where I'm like, I disagree, and I'm going to leave this as it is, but it's not very often, because the fact of the matter is the reader's right. If the reader says it doesn't make sense, it doesn't make sense. Okay? I don't care if it makes sense to you. It doesn't make sense to the reader, so fix it. And again, like, you're the writer, always going to make sense to you. So yeah, you've got to listen, and you've got to dot those I's and cross those T's and make sure that all of those things are connected. Yeah, it's really important. Okay, So I don't see any other questions popping up. If you guys have any, like I said, hurry, get those in. If you have an idea for another video that you'd like to see, I'd love to hear it. If you guys have picked up Vinatars, ooh, that looks nice in this light. If you guys have picked up Vinatars, like please leave me a review. I've had some amazing reviews comes in. It's been awesome. But let your friends know. Oh my gosh, like if you guys could share the link, I'd be so amazingly grateful. It's a really fun start to a series, and I'm really excited to get people going on this. And I will put the link down below for you guys again if anyone hasn't gotten it. But yes, if you haven't picked it up, Vinatars Through the Arch, go grab it, do it. It'll be awesome. And if you have any other questions regarding, you know, writing or just not giving up, like shoot me a message. I had a girl I went to a school, and I was talking about how Wings of Arion took me 4 years. And she raised her hand and she was like, why would you keep working on that for 4 years? And I was like, you know what? I didn't want to quit. I'd quit other things in my life, and I regretted quitting those things. I still regret quitting those things. And I decided when I first started writing, I said, you know what? I don't care what it takes. I'm not going to quit this. I'm going to finish it. And that's what you got to do. You've just got to keep on pushing. And sometimes it takes years, and that's okay, because you got to learn your craft. Alyssa says she's going to get it on Google Play. Woohoo! Thank you. Crystal, charging Kindle. Yes, Crystal, I want to know what you think. Faith, so Crystal and Alyssa, Faith wants to know that she has already claimed Beltran, so she feels that Beltran is off the table and neither of you can claim him. So Alyssa and Crystal, if you guys want to fight Faith for Beltran after you finish the book, like let me know. Maybe we can set up like a online boxing match or something. Okay. All right. You guys have been great. I'm so glad you guys popped on. And seriously, if there's another topic that you're dying to know, like I don't care what it is, be it, you know, being a mom, being a writer, like being weird, I don't care. Just pop it in there and we can totally get a message and talk about it. I'm losing the ability to talk. I should not do videos this long, but we'll totally get another video going if you guys have something that you want to talk about. Alyssa says we'll see about that. Faith, she's calling you out, girl. She's calling you out. Okay, I'll talk to you guys later. You guys are so much fun. See ya.